Well, what are we fixing today? Today, I have a special treat, sort of. If you're a Raspberry Pi fan, this could be fun. If you want a Syslog server or an MQTT server that's not connected and run from Home Assistant but separate, you might also be interested. It's also my 50th video, so stay tuned for the end. I got a little fun surprise for you. And with that being said, let's go to the bench. Here I have all the parts to make a little Raspberry Pi. We're going to take this terabyte drive and we're going to run it in this Raspberry Pi. The links to all this stuff is in the text below if you're interested in it, except for this. This you have to just pull it out of an old out of a laptop. You can also do this with an SSD. You can do this with an NVMe. You can do it other ways, but I'm using free old drive, so let's go. Case is on, so I put the heatsink tape on there on the processor and the GPU and stuff. This is a little fanless case that I found and looked like it would work pretty good. Now, in order to have this old hard drive boot on it, we have to do a few things. We have to, I'll just go over it in general. We have to build an SD card that we can boot this temporarily. Do a firmware upgrade on this. Okay. Then we build up this and we let it boot. And after that, I'll show you how I'm going to install a Syslog server, an MQTT server. I do like an external MQTT server because then when Home Assistant boots or things happen with Home Assistant, because that's kind of it goes up and down a lot because of, I make a change, you got to reboot the thing. I want all my lights to keep working in between, and a lot of my lights are just talk from Tasmota to MQTT to each other. I want those to keep working, and I don't want that rebooted all the time. That's why I like an external, completely to my computer MQTT server. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is you're going to have to build that SD card to update your Pi 4. The firmware is probably out of date, even if you just bought it. The firmware to make sure that it can boot from what they call SSD or hard drive in my case is fairly new, and it's good to check and make sure that you have the correct version. And then once the correct version is there and you use RasPi, you'll be able to boot from it. So we're going to go to the Raspberry Pi site, downloads here, and we're going to download Lite. This one. And save. Once the image is downloaded, you can use a program called Disks. This is built into the GNOME Live thing, but any Debian instance can use it. I've used it with straight Debian and other things. I've used it with Mint. This is a really nice program because it tells you about all your hard drives and what's going on. That's my boot drive. You don't want to F with that because your computer will no longer work. All right. Here I have a couple of data drives. Here is the SD card that I want to use. So I'm going to plug that in. There it is. It's a 16 gig drive. That's the one we're going to make our base image stuff about. Because there's stuff on there already. We're going to wipe it. And the way you use this Disks program is you make sure you select the one that you want. This is absolutely the one that I want. We're going to go up here to the shish kebab menu. We're going to restore disk image, and we're going to go to that folder, and we're going to load the light one, which should be this one. Start restoring. It'll check, and it says this is a double check so that you don't mess up your whatever you need and lose your data. 16 gig drive, that's the one I want. Restore. And it's going to start restoring. So, looks like it's done. The volumes are popping up. Get rid of that, get rid of that. So now we have an SD card that's created and my image as the partitions that popped up. What I need to do is add a file in here. That's to allow us to get to SSH and log into the thing. Let's just open a different terminal here. Now we're in the right folder. We're going to do Dutch SSH. So this SSH file here that I just added is going to allow this system to be able to turn on the SSH server once for one boot. I'll have to go in there and change it so that it's permanent so that we can find it next time, but that's what that does. That is there. The thing is updated. The thing is okay. So next thing we got to do is stick it in the Pi. Let's stick it in our Pi. And fire it up. There's a terminal again. Okay, so let's log into our Pi. YES. And the password is Raspberry. So after booting, we need to run RasPi config to set things up. So RasPi config, and it has to be sudo, otherwise it won't run. All right, that looks like this. We're going to set the interface options. That would be SSH. We're going to turn that on. Okay. And then we're going to go down here to advanced options. We're going to go to bootloader version. And we're going to say latest. Use latest version boot ROM software. And hit enter. And it will be loaded at the next boot. Say okay. Say yes. Install the stuff. And let's just say finish. And yes, we want to reboot now. We're going to let it reboot. I'm not going to change the login and password. This one, because it's only going to be in there for doing stuff like this, bringing up a Pi, doing this. I'm not going to leave it in the Pi forever. It's only going to be temporarily in the Pi. Once you get to your final install, you're going to want to do that. Okay, that's booted up. We're going to go now to load software on this, and the loading software on this is the same process as loading it on the SD card that I put in here, except I'm going to use the full version for this one. Looks like this. Here's the OS page. You've seen this before, but we're going to go over here, and before we loaded this one for that SD card, now for me, and my best would be this one, because I want this to be an actual kind of desktop with all the stuff. So I've already downloaded this. we are going to install it and install it on this device. Here it is. And in this case, this is the device. Click on it. It's got some stuff on it, but what I'm going to do just to make certain that it's the right device is I'm going to disconnect it. It should go away. And I'm going to reconnect it. After I reconnect it, it shows up. So I know for sure this is the one I want to load it to. It's a 1 terabyte. And you have to be, I'm extra careful here because yes, it says 1 terabyte. I also have 2 other 1 terabyte drives in this machine, and I want to make sure I don't overwrite one of those. So this is the correct one. And we are going to restore. So shish kebab menu. Restore disk image. Go here. Takes me to my ISOs. Full. Dated March 3rd. Full. This is the one I downloaded earlier. It's 8.5 gig. So there. Destination, definitely. Okay, that's about done. There it is. Let's transition to the terminal. We're going to log in again using this command, SSH command that we used before. So now I'm logged back into the Pi. RasPi config again. We're going to change advanced options and boot order. We're not going to boot from the SD card anymore. We're going to boot from USB. Finish. And I would like to reboot now. Yes. So once it's now rebooting after I changed the boot configuration, both the SD card and the USB are here. It's supposed to select booting from here. So we'll see if it does. Well, it's doing a lot of blinking. Let's try to log in. So you can see what happened. It sees a different signature, which is correct because it's on a different hard drive, even though it's the same device. And this thinks there might be something fishy going on. What we're going to do is we're going to clear this, copy this out, run that. It's going to clear my system out so that it knows. All right, and I'm going to try to log in again. Do yes. And put in the password. Let's see what this is doing. Is doing a disk check. Initially, it's going to check the whole disk, so this is going to sit here and work for a while. It's doing so it can do that in the background apparently and still work. It's also expanding the file system, so that's happening. Now we need to make another change. We're going to make it so that it boots hard drive all the time, and I'm not going to be able to take out the SD card completely. This goes into the program called boot/config.txt and adds this to the end of it. Right? So that should be there. Now, I'm not going to do... I'm going to go away for a little while. I want this to stop doing its disk check and everything before I reboot this. So, we'll be back. That was all done doing stuff. Powered it down. Pulled out the SD card. Let's see if we can log in. And I'm logged in. So at this point, you need to take this and change your login name, change your password. You don't want that to stay, especially if this is, in my case, this is going to be on all the time. I'm going to do that offline. I'm going to leave it the same for now, but you make sure you change your login name, change your password, and you can look online on how to do that. I'm not going to go through that with you. You also need to do your updates. This does an update and then an upgrade. Update tells the OS what should be there, what versions. Upgrade actually does it. The -y just says yes, go, do it, go, go. So we're going to go. Well, now that we have everything all updated, first thing we're going to install is our Syslog. So it's already in there. That's fine. This program acts, so this little Pi is going to act as a data logger. Anything that any of my Ubuntu, all my Tasmodas, whatever I can send the log to, I'm going to send it to here. It'll be a constant, always loading log file for everything that I want to send to it. And when there's something weird that goes on, like why is that switching weird? Why is that Tasmoda doing that? Why is my whatever not working? I can go to this log and I can go see what happened. Now we're going to edit the config file. This is a config file for our syslog. Module load IM to 514. We're going to uncomment these lines. For UDP and TCP. That's basically all you have to do to make it as a server. Control O for nano and write the output, and the Control X. Now to make it start, like so. And now it is acting, and any data that comes to it on 514, it's going to log. You might also want to do template in here. So let's go in and do it. This is optional. Let's go in and do a template. And this will better format the data coming in from other machines. That's just nice to have. Don't have to do that, but I'm going to do it. Save it again. Restart it again because I made changes to it. And there you go. So that's all you need to do to get Syslog running on a little Pi like this, or on any Ubuntu Debian based, probably lots of others too, but I don't know about them, so I can't talk about them. Now, MQTT, we're going to make this also an MQTT server. Let's just load the server. All right, it's loaded. Now we're going to set up a password file. We're just going to do the sample one for here. I will, of course, have a different one, so any passwords I add are not going to be in my system. And this is what's in the text. This is a sample file, but this location is where you want to put it. Save it. Close out. Now we're going to encrypt the file. Now, if you want to remember what those passwords are and usernames are, you have to know, because once you do this next command, they're going to be encrypted. There we go. It's encrypted now. So let's just look at the file, and it should look completely different from what we put in there. Here's what the password file looks like now. And you can't see what it did before, but so right now you go and look at username and password. It's encrypted, but MQTT or a mosquito thing knows what to do with it. So that's why I said you need to remember what those passwords are before you encrypt it, because once you encrypt it, the file is gone. You can't see it even. You have to know. So maybe save it offline somewhere, put it on paper, print it, get it in a safe place. That's your backup passwords, your safe place. All right. So now that that's in there, I'm going to add a local configuration file. There is a configuration file here. It's called mosquito.conf. It's a bad idea to ever edit this file. On various updates to Mosquito, they will change this file. You should just leave this file alone. There's no reason to touch it. You can make any file that you put in this folder, conf.d, with a .conf at the end, will be loaded as at the end of this file. So this can just stay the way it is, doesn't care, leave it alone, and you can add another file over here that's yours, like this. I'm going to paste this and explain it to you. All right, first thing we're going to do is I want to use passwords all the time for my MQTT. So I'm going to turn off anonymous password. I'm then going to point to the password file that I just made. That's the same name, that's the location, password file.sample or whatever. This is the name that I just created as a sample file. My logs are going to go to Syslog, so all this stuff is going to go into Syslog to keep track of it. And the logs that it's saving, I'm going to save errors, warnings, here we go, errors and warnings. I'm going to skip notice and information, although you can turn those on if you want, or you can turn them all on if you just take away this hashtag here. So these are just kind of there in case you want them later. And if you want to turn logging off altogether, you can do that. So that's what's going to happen. I'm going to log to Syslog, and I'm going to use this password file, and I'm turning off anonymous. This is a more secure situation. Control O, output the device, to X, close it. Okay, after you're done with that, reboot your computer, and you're done. Well, that's my video for today. Hope it's helped you. I can tell it, if you have a Pi, that part might help you. If you want Syslog, if you want MQT Surfer, those other parts might help you. So people might watch pieces and parts of this. That's just fine. In this case, I wanted to make something that did all that, so I put it all in one. Glad you were here. Give me a like if you thought this was helpful. Subscribe is great. There's other ways to help in the bottom. Patreon, other things. You want to support my work, go ahead. And as a special, just for you guys, I got something here you can go check out after my video. Look at that. It's on my shirt. I think it'll scan, right? Give it a scan. See what you think. In the meantime, I hope you're all well. And until next time, say bye.